Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
Good morning and welcome to day 22 of Vlogmas. My name is Tracy and I am the podcaster of the Knitting on the Float podcast. And today, as you can tell, it is cold here. I've got, you can see my breath. There is ice just off the float house and going down the river. And the ramp, thankfully, is at a higher tide, but that ice is starting to form because it is super cold out here. It is still December 21st. I'm filming this for Vlogmas day 22, but I wanted to show you how low the tide has gotten and also how cold it is out here. And you can tell how cold it is out here because there is ice floating. And I'm going to turn the camera. There are big ice chunks floating in the river here. And this morning I was telling you about how low the tide is. And you can see where the mud is. We still have another hour and a bit before we are at full low tide. So it's a little bit worrisome because we're almost out of water here. And here is the house. And as the tide gets lower, of course, there's more possibility of the house grounding. I was talking about the angle of the ramp, and it is super steep right now. It's absolutely amazing to see from the top, but I'm definitely, when I go take you up there, I am going to need to be super careful because it is really steep and really quite slippery. So I'm going to turn the camera off while I go up there. But if you remember, on the 21st, I showed those two bars holding up the ramp, and I am actually lower than those are right now because the slope is so steep. Greg and I went out grocery shopping, and we are carefully bringing down groceries right now. So he is holding on to that railing because when he gets to the bottom, it is icy. We put some salt down before we left. I was talking about this ramp. I've never seen this much of the stone exposed before, and that's what I was talking about yesterday. Anyway, it is definitely a low tide and very steep up there. So I'm going to turn the camera off for a moment. I'm going to go up, and I just want to show you what it looks like from up top because it's really quite interesting. It is currently -9, or at least that's what it was in the car when we were coming back. It is bitterly cold, but there is the slope of the ramp. Luckily, I call this silver stuff cheese grater, or a cheese grating type of material, and luckily it's got some good traction to it, or it stops you from sliding. The wood is on the other part, and that can be quite slippery. So you're getting your exercise tonight, Greg.
That's like a mountain goat.
This is all ice across here. Shiny ice and then mud flat. And then that tiny bit of water, which is making me nervous. But it is quite an amazing view tonight from this high up. And this is normal land, but the fact that the house is so far down tonight. Anyway, I think, is that the last of it? No? Okay. Earlier today I was showing you this way. You can see that the river almost looks like if it could, it would freeze over. Oh, anyway, it is cold out here. I am ready to go in. I'm carefully going to go down that ramp, but I wanted to share with you low tide at the float houses. You know what's even more crazy is that in the next few nights it's going to be even lower tide than it is right now because we're going into a new moon. Anyway, I am cold. I am going inside, even though I've got my Tiddly Palm neck snuggler on. I want to get inside and make some nice warm tea or hot chocolate or some sort of warm beverage because it is frigid out here. Before I head in, I just wanted to point out how fast the river is flowing towards the Pacific. So I don't know if you can see the ice and the current going. So still going to low tide. We have, I think, about an hour and a half to 2 more hours before we are at low tide and the tide turns around. But yep, that is low tide on the float home. I have one more thing to share with you, and this is our measuring stick. So sometimes we're way up there. Can you hear that water flowing? That's the tide still going out. And we are out of measuring stick because there is the ground. And the water is going down from there. Okay, it's cold. Going inside now. I have come out again, and I'm pretty sure we've grounded because if you look at the height between the bumper and the top of our house, we usually have to step down a little bit more than this. And when we come over here, there's not very much water here at all. So the house is fairly even, but the step down isn't as much as it normally is. So low tide, and yes, we have grounded. And just take a look at that river that is still going out, and there are bits of ice going down the river. It is chilly out here, and I am going to bed now. I just came outside to see the state of the house. We have dropped because I heard a big noise. There's lots of ice. And when I came around the corner, I see, do you see him? A little raccoon. I was showing you earlier. Let me zoom out. Earlier we were level with the middle part of this, and we've now dropped about 1.5 inches. So just to show you how much ice is going by, the ice is still going downstream, but yeah, it's a little bit crazy. But yeah, I went around the corner and saw the raccoons and kind of scared me. Anyway, it is now officially December 22nd, and it is cold outside. Here is Tugaway pushing some logs upstream. I guess they are using that to make sure they don't hit any ice, because as you can see, there is a lot of ice flowing down the river. So I guess Logger is protecting himself, I'm guessing. Not sure what that's about, but can you hear the ice cracking? Cracking ice is such an eerie sound. But this is what it looks like this morning off of the float house. Little icebergs. Anyway, it is not a day to go and stay outside for any long duration. Today I'm making chili. I'm going to try my hand at a bit of baking, and I'm going to try and stay cuddly warm, drinking warm beverages and fixing baubles that fall off trees. That was one of our bells. Angel just got its wings, I guess. Anyway, today's going to be a quiet homebody day. Scout is outside. She stands at the door like she wants in, but when I open the door, she doesn't want to come in. Anyway, I'm going to make some chili and keep warm. Today we are in the kitchen being cheered on by the Dancing Queen, and we are making chili. So I have tomatoes, mushrooms, kidney beans still to add, and I have the meat and the onions in there, and then I also have to add the spices. So I'm going to do that. I have added all the canned ingredients, so now I'm going to cut up some peppers or capsicum and some celery, and I still have to add in the spices. But here is what it's looking like so far. All of the spices have now been added into the chili, along with the mushrooms, the tomatoes, and the kidney beans, and then there's some ground beef in there. I just need to chop up the celery and the peppers, and then it will be a very colorful and yummy, yummy chili for later on today on this cold December day. I have just cut up 2 yellow peppers, some celery. I'm going to cut a little bit more celery, and this one here is enjoying
a stick
of
celery.
Yum. Here we are. We have just added in the celery and the peppers, and I'm going to give it a nice stir and let it simmer all day long, so that at the end of the day we have a nice warm meal on this chilly day. That is a nice full pot of chili. We'll put the lid on the crock pot and let it cook and bubble away for the rest of the day. I have bundled up because I just went to check the mail. No mail yet, but this area here between the dock and the shore is starting to freeze up, and just on the other side of the house here, ice is starting to form as well. So it is going to warm up in the next couple of days. Yay. We are going to have more frigid temperatures today, and then it's going to start getting up near -1, -2 tomorrow, I believe. And then by Christmas, we should be above freezing. And into next week, I'm seeing that we're forecast for above 0. So that will be good. The tides are still going to be low over the next few days, which is a worry with the grounding. But hopefully some of this will start to melt, and that will help get more water in the river, so the tides are maybe a tiny bit higher, I'm hoping. Anyway, this is what it's looking like today, and I'm going to go in and do a little bit more cooking. I'm going to do some baking now, actually. Cooking and baking are different things. So cooking chili, and I'm going to try and bake date squares. We'll see how that goes. I'm hoping I'm catching this. Look at these eagles up in the sky practicing. Maybe they're keeping warm. I believe one is mom and one is a baby eagle. Or it could be mom and pop, I'm not sure. I am trying out my mom's date square recipe, and I am quadrupling it, so that should be interesting. I'm going to make a large batch of date squares for gifts, and I'll just share with you what's happening at the moment. In the saucepan, I am simmering, the dates and getting them softened up and jammy. So just letting them slowly cook away. On the counter, I am softening up some butter, and I've taken out my mixing bowls and measuring cup. And then right now I'm using my iPad, but I will put the iPad on here so I can follow the recipe. If you're wondering how the chili is doing, doesn't that look so yummy? And it smells delicious. Out in the cold today is the Vancouver Port Authority, and they are carefully driving through this ice water. And getting ready for when the melt comes. Hopefully that will be soon. I hope they've got some nice warm beverages in there. Another quick peek to see how the dates are coming along. I added a little bit more water just to thin it out a little bit so that the dates can break up more, but starting to look really yummy. I'm not sure why, but Scout likes to come out here and lie out here. Look at the ice going up the river. The tide is coming in. We are going to have a high tide followed by a very low tide tonight. But look at all that ice. And yes, the ducks are swimming amongst it. What a mess my porch is. And this one here just loves to sit outside, especially in the winter. And she loves watching the ducks go by and the ice go by as well. Oh my goodness, look what is going by the house right now. A tree, roots still in. I tell you, there is never a dull moment around here. I almost forgot to show you the progress on the date squares. So I'm doing 2 pans, and I have the oatmeal, flour, sugar, butter mixture at the bottom. Then I've got my dates spread over top, and then I have more oatmeal, sugar, flour, butter here that will go on the top. And then the oven is set, and I'm going to start to bake it. My dates are now covered with the mixture, and these 2 lovely little dishes are about to go into the oven to cook for about 30 to 40 minutes. It has been a long day of cooking, and I have already broken into the chili. Greg, Nathaniel, and I sat down and had a bowl of chili earlier, and then we sent a bowl or two off for Nathaniel and Isaac, who will be going caroling tonight. And over here, my baking, my date squares are all done. I just need to cut them into squares, and then I'm going to wrap them in tin foil, and these will be gifts for our neighbors. But don't they look delicious? We are just approaching sunset on the 22nd of December. Hopefully tonight we don't ground too badly. It is so cold that unfortunately my next door neighbor, their water line in has frozen. So I've invited them over for some nice warm chili, and I'm hoping that they will take me up on that offer because it is really, really good. Plus, I need to buy more chili powder for my next batch. Anyway, I am wishing you a wonderful day, evening, morning, whatever time it is, and I will see you for day 23 of Vlogmas. And boy, oh boy, we are quickly approaching Christmas, aren't we? Low tide is just starting up again, and do you remember this big hunk of ice that went by my house earlier? It's now going by again. And if we turn over this way and we listen, we can hear the crackling ice.
In excelsis Deo, Gloria, in excelsis Deo.
The date squares are all bundled up, ready to be gifted to the neighbors with beautiful little ribbons on them. Shiny, shiny packages with yummy, yummy treats.